And I also believe quality of life is not individual. It is
Right.
communal. We are interdependent amongst each other. And so mutuality amongst others provides quality of life because we weren't made to be siloed individuals in our little caves.
Welcome to Let's Talk About It Tuesdays, where I share conversations that I have with successful women, all answering the same questions. And then we simply chat it up a bit. You get to be a fly on the wall in these conversations. Today, I welcome Certified Therapeutic Spiritual Director, Bridget Black. Bridget provides spaces where others can explore their big questions, allowing a safe and sacred space to be honest and vulnerable with themselves, others, and the divine. Her work is centered around life transitions, faith deconstruction or expansion, healing from spiritual and religious harm, and queer and neurodivergent integration. I am happy you're here for this conversation with Bridget Black.
Hello and good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
You ready for your first question?
I am. Right here. Good. No one needs to see their full face the whole time.
Exactly. Alrighty. Well, what is quality of life to you?
I was thinking about quality of life because the thing about it is I don't ever think in that category, which sounds strange. But I don't evaluate oh, what is my quality of life? Not that I'm not doing that, but I haven't categorically called it that. And I was reflecting on why that is. And I think it's because when I think about life, I'm constantly thinking about it in pieces and chunks. What is life as a mom, life as a businesswoman, but to then see it as that whole, which is ironic because when I talk about, we get to the conversation on how do you come about quality of life, it is actually holistic. So interestingly, so I would say quality of life is living integrated. That your inside world matches your outside world, whatever that's meaning or ethic or moral, that you're internally living congruently and externally with the values and the person that you want to be or the person you want to become. So that's when I think of quality of life is living integrated and not feeling separated or scattered or disembodied. Oh, I want to live like this, then my body doesn't feel that. So it's eating in that way.
Living integrated, that's beautiful. So would you mind expanding a little bit more on what that looks like for you? Because that actually will lead us perfectly into the next question, which is how do you implement and how do you practice that quality of life in your everyday living?
Yeah. So for me, I look at holistic living, integrated living, as being aware that we are embodied souls, right? That we aren't people that just have a cognitive approach or a somatic embodied approach to things, that we are whole people. And that's not just mind and body. So for me, as a person that works also within spirituality, I believe that we are both human and divine, that we have elements of us, that we are human, period. And I also believe that the divine is within us and around us. And so for me, living integrated is also recognizing the fullness of who I am, right? It's continually processing my life, my past, my present, my hopes for the future, which includes an array of trauma and narratives, whether false or realistic, and learning to really evaluate and be curious about who I am, what lives inside me, and how I'm moving in this world, and what am I inviting into, and what am I stepping into. So for me, it's taking account of all of that, and allowing it to shape me and form me, and also to shape it and form it, because I'm a big component that we are co-creators, we're co-laborers in this world, right? I don't believe that the divine, God, source, however people want to identify with that, is we're not robots, right? We have full agency and choice, and we get to partner with the divine to bring about more human flourishing and love to this world. So that's how I see it.
That you did a very painted a comprehensive picture of what holistic living looks like and can be. Because at first
Mhm.
I was going to say, oh, tell us more about what holistic, you said, sorry, holistic, I wrote notes. I always write notes.
Love it.
You were talking about holistic living, and I wanted to be like, I wanted to poke at that and be like, ooh, what is that? What does that look like? And you also said something about somatic something. And I want to also kind of poke at that too, because
Mhm.
you understand that not, and sometimes I understand it, but not everybody else might understand what somatic means. And
Mhm.
so thank you for expanding on the whole, ha ha ha, holistic part.
Well played.
It was not an accident. It was divine. But would you mind sharing a little bit more about what that means somatically for you and what you maybe seen it in other people?
Yeah. So somatics is literally soma is the body, right? It's the sensations within the body. That's like plain and simple. When I talk about somatic living, it is being attuned to that, attuned to your body, attuned to these sensations and the movements of your body. And that's not just simply like, oh, my knees are bending, I am walking. It is what is the energetic experience throughout your body, where when you engage in emotions or thoughts, they are experienced in and through your body. Um, and that can be also in your head. There are people that are like, oh, I can feel for my own self. I can feel my brain working at times. It's
Yeah.
kind of wild. Um, so it's not just that like, oh, your somatic is like neck down. It is, again, we're whole people. So
Hmm.
it's being able to kind of like feel and sense how your brain is putting things together or how you feel it in your gut or like the pressure on your chest or the tightness in your hands or the relaxing of your hands, whatever. It's engaging with the full system that you are. I mean, that is paying attention to those. So for me,
Yeah.
holistic is taking all of that into account, right?
Hmm.
We have a tendency of wanting to, what I call reaction formation, or people call reaction formation, is if you're given one way of experiencing something. So everything is about thinking. You have to have right thinking, right believing, right ways of doing something, and it's all here. And there was a lot of disembodied suppression of the body. Like it doesn't matter how you feel about it. What do you think about it, right? And we can have a tendency of swinging all the way to the other side and being like, it doesn't matter how we think. How do we feel? Where do we feel it in our body? And and then we want to throw logic out, or we want to throw deep thinking out because it's kind of been demonized a bit, right? It became the thing that was used to suppress this. And what I'm saying is there are periods of time where we maybe need to put that over here and engage with the body, or put the body over here. Some people were given really intensive somatic ways of being and weren't given an ability to use their logic or their thinking or whatnot or intuition. And so then they maybe need to practice being in that part of themselves. But eventually, it is the integrating of those and having a two system, multi system conversation with yourself. So that's
Yeah.
what I say with somatics, and why when I say embodied, I mean literally
Yeah.
the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we do similar work and promote similar thoughts because I am huge on pay attention to your body, pay attention to what's going on in your body and listen to it and learn how to have a relationship, especially so many of us as women, we're taught from day one, or even not even just limited to women, but especially women, I will say, is, to kind of disconnect from what we're feeling on multiple levels and to hear you break that down in such a way that expresses the importance of it really speaks to me. And so I hope it speaks to other people that are watching this too, because there is such an importance in one, the acknowledgement of it. What our body is telling us is so important. And two, the awareness of, yeah, you might be a little too far over here, all the that's beneficial all the time, or a little too far over here, but there's a pendulum. Like maybe we can find a way in the middle. And because I think one of the things as women that we fear is having our being called emotional and having those emotions take over to the point where sometimes we feel crazy. And so the practice that I hear you saying is more of an in tune, integrated way
Mm-hmm.
of experiencing a quality of life.
Yes.
Love it. But
Yeah, and I think, to add to that, men too, in their own way, right? Toxic masculinity or masculinity that is non-integrated and holistic, um, is its own thing. And for women, particularly, it's not even just that we were told to suppress that, right? Because like the worst is to be emotional or dramatic, right? I mean, like we get whole diagnoses, histrionic.
yeah,
They're just histrionic, and when we can institutionalize them. Um, and just the stats and the numbers on how women, and I come from a position of being a white woman, right? So I can't even speak to other people that have different holding identities in the world. I have some, intersecting identities that can be slightly marginalized, but generally I'm housed in a, white body. And even in that, like in medical settings and everything, how women are not believed. Oh, it's just in your head. Oh, just go take some, whatever. And how empowering and also so frustrating, because if you are like this integrated person, and you're like, I know my body, I know da da da, and then you have these systems saying like, are you sure? It's like the
yeah,
more work we can do as women to be bolstered in that, the more we can push back and be like, yes, actually, let me tell you. And
yes,
then finding the person that will listen to you, right? Instead of letting them influence, oh, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it is all in my head. Maybe I did. Wait, is it? Let's check that.
yeah. I have found is that as I have become more healed and in tune with my body, I don't have any time for the others, I'll just say others, that don't believe me because I'm so much more like what you're saying, I'm so much more connected with what's going on that I am paying attention to it. And kind of to your point, which is the more that we are all collectively doing that, that's where I think things will start really shifting because we don't have tolerance for that. We have a little ways to go, and I'm excited that we're on this journey. We're all talking about the things that we're talking about now, that we
Yeah.
have these open forums and conversations. Even having you, I was so excited to get you on here because I'm like, I know she's going to talk about some good stuff. So, okay, so let's go. I'm going to go back to the final question, then we can go on our wandering trail wherever we want to go. So,
Well,
how are you challenged to live in your ways of quality of life?
gosh, it's so hard. Like I have never a person's like, I'm in all together because that's not a thing. Um, but my approach to achieving quality of life is not even like it is also the integrative, but for me, I look at it as embodied soul care and really tapping into where are the ways that I am caring for my whole soul, my whole being. And one of my favorite definitions of it is by this man named David Benner. And he talks about the idea that's the care and the cure of the soul. And so it's caring for. And caring for can be staring at the ocean, which I love to do. It can be painting, walking, sitting, staring. Sometimes it's scrolling on your phone. Like there is nothing to be categorized as negative. It is what is actually caring for you. And then the curing, right, or challenging or mending part, because I'm never a person that ever believes we are broken. I do believe that there are parts that need mending and attending to, and integrating in a healthier, holistic way. And that can be for some, right? That's where sometimes spirituality can come in, engaging with the divine, whether that's in a fixed set where, you have sacred scriptures that you read, or there's certain particular prayers that really um, feed you, or for some, right? Spirituality is just the drive towards transcendence. That is the drive towards the connection of more and belonging and purpose. And so it's finding ways that can feed and cure, help through some of that more.
Yeah,
And I also believe quality of life is not individual, it is
right.
communal. We are interdependent amongst each other. And so mutuality amongst others provides quality of life because we weren't made to be siloed individuals in our little
Hmm.
caves.
Yeah.
So for me, that's my approach to get to it. The challenge is I have two littles. They're 6 and 8-year-old boys, and it's so much energy. Um, just not just caring for them, but like right? Like there's this like procuring, I'm helping them in their social world, right? It's not just like taking care of them and feeding them in my house now. It's like, oh, and how do I have them engage in the world and connect and all these things? So that's challenging as a person that works with people. I hold a lot of I hold many stories and souls. And so sometimes that can be a lot, kind of feels a little
Yeah.
freezing. You know, you can kind of just get frozen in how much you're caring for others. Um, and yeah, I just think some of, and it's not all these bad things. It's just, I find that there are things that take your time. And so what does it look like? I talk about this a lot with people is, so Sabbath, right? This notion of rest, um, kind of setting time apart from your everyday schedule to kind of just rest and recharge. And that can look like various types of soul care. Um, but I often talk with people that have really busy lives about what is Sabbath in action? What is rest in action? What does it look like to like tuck in moments of care for the self? Like while you're driving, maybe don't listen to that podcast. Listen to this song that's soothing,
Mhm.
or just be quiet and practice sitting
Right.
in silence. You know, like what is it to just have these internal moments of presence with the self, presence with the divine that kind of can feel rejuvenating.
Yeah.
And then asking for help and asking for communal support. Like, hey, I got to go for a walk. Could somebody sit with my kid?
Yeah, because one of the things that I heard you say what was where you have a hard time or you're challenged with it is, and this is my paraphrasing your words, is the desire and or maybe the responsibility to care for others. And and in that there is this balance, this harmony that happens. I like harmony better, but this harmony that happens with those things that you were saying, which is rest, aka Sabbath, reaching out for help, making sure that we're being in tune with that. But I think the thing that I really want to kind of hone on a little bit more, because I think a lot of people identify with that challenge of, but I got all these people that need something from me. I don't have
Mhm.
time to go for a walk. I
Totally.
don't have time to even think about what I need to think about so that I can take care of myself and have this kind of integrated, holistic thing. Which I say that is a narrative. That's not necessarily a truth. And so I love on the other side of that you provided alternative options to integrate. What's your
Mhm.
favorite?
I think, well, to that point, I love the notion of being creative. I think this is where creativity and curiosity to find some of these little spaces and pockets. Um, One of my favorite ways to achieve soul care is to kind of like double book. So one of my closest
Ooh,
friends,
that sounds like
her,
overbook. So tell us more.
well, I really love the like. So one of my closest friends, her kids and my kids are friends, right? And often when you're planning a play date, sometimes you're friends with these people or you're planning a gathering for your children. Like, right, the goal is helping cultivate their social life and
Mm,
helping them to be community partners with people, whatever, right? How do you also build in inside of that an ability? So, for instance, if I have to take my kids to the park, I will go for a walk around the park, and I'll say I'm right here. You can see me, and I will go and I will intentionally look at the trees, engage. Like I will not be staring down at my cell phone, which I'm not here to knock because sometimes you just need to zone out while your kid's playing on the swings. But which could also be your form of, but that might be it. Maybe it's catching up on the news that you so desperately want to know about and you feel so separated from the world. You take a moment to read up on that. For me, I go like, I'll go for a walk. I'll go on the swings myself. I love the swings. They were my favorite. I'll go on the swings. If
yes.
my kids like push me, nope, you're fully capable. You can do it. I'm going on the swings. I get to play too. So building in play. Um, Playing games with my kids. I love playing games. I love playing Uno. My kid just taught me Mancala, which is very, very easy and very fun. And playing with them, and allowing myself to actually be playing, like to actually be enjoying that I'm playing a game. That I'm not overthinking. How do I make sure he's a good teammate or how he's a good sportsman? Da, da, da. Like those things are going to happen. If my kid gets upset because he loses, I'm going to help him through it.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, I get to have fun playing. So trying to like a little double duty. right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
And so when you first said double duty, like I said, I heard double book and I'm like, oh wait, what does that mean? But the intentionality that I hear you saying is key and reminding, because as you were saying in the very beginning, quality of life, you're not thinking of it as how is this going to improve my quality of life? But it is in your mindset of like, this is my quality of life. This is how I literally live a life that is quality to me. And
Mm-hmm.
so when I was talking about, I don't have time, I don't have time, and I said that's a narrative, this is a great example of how to change that narrative. Just be intentional, be aware of you might not have time, but do you? Do we? And sometimes we do, and sometimes we don't. But
Yeah.
that's the thought of, okay, we'll go to the park, that they'll be fine playing. We don't need to always be, in knees and elbows and everything that everybody's doing.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. I think the curiosity part of just, and also not having to answer it right away too. I often when I sit with people and we talk through stuff, honestly, sometimes the first step is just noticing. It's just allowing what I call like soft vision. Just start kind of noticing your
Mhm.
days, noticing your life, noticing where you're putting energy and where there are pockets. Not that you have full pockets and then go to a spa and get a massage. I don't have that. But I do have an ability to sit at the park and rub my shoulders, rub my neck, do some stretches, right? Um, just noticing not the empty spots, but just noticing your life and paying attention to your life. And it's the same with the inner work and stuff like that, is noticing those narratives that come up of like, oh, I can't do anything. Oh, that's interesting. Where does that come from? And what do I mean by that? What can't I do? What do I want to do? And I think it's also helping that too. We think
Mhm.
and we are given a model of self care that it is these certain things, and they're very fixed sets of the ways in which one should be caring for themselves. And I'm sure those things are very helpful for lots of people. And for other people, it just gives stress like, well, I can't do that. So I can't do anything. Or I'm not really fully caring for myself because I don't have
Mhm.
an 8 step, you know, face experience every night. No, it's okay, or I don't have the money to do this. Okay. So
Yeah.
I think really just noticing and being able to see what is accessible to you and not allowing somebody else's approach to caring or attending to themselves and finding their quality of life having to be yours.
And as you're saying that, I'm thinking, what a wonderful model, because for those of us who care for people, care about people, as when you were just talking about the kids playing, I'm stretching, I'm like, what a great example I'll just use kids as an example because not everybody is in a season where kids are involved, but other people, workplace. What
Yes.
a great example of showing this is how I take care of myself. These are
Mm-hmm.
the things. And ultimately what that does is that brings a respect for how we do it. And people tend to fall in line and they accept it and they support it, ideally.
Yes. That's so interesting you brought that up because um, I years and years ago, I used to work in healthcare. I did recreation therapy for older adults, and it was a lot taking care of older adults, people at end of life. And I had this one coworker that every lunch, she would intentionally go sit outside on the table, and she'd always like pack the best lunch she could for herself that really felt good. It wasn't just like, oh, this is healthy. It was like, what is yummy to me today that I have in my house? And she'd go out there and she'd sit in the sun and she'd often be like, I don't really feel like talking. Like I'm just going to sit and use this 20, 30 minutes to simply just eat and slow down to then move on. And she doesn't have kids in her life and any of that. But I remember just seeing how well she modeled that for my own self, for all our coworkers. And then the thing about, like you're saying, and the modeling of stuff is that it invites people in, right? Like you don't have to preach at everyone that you should do this and you should do this and you should do this. The more you live into it, the more it invites people to be creative in their own way. Like, oh, interesting. I could do that. Oh, I could do this. Oh, okay. That feels good for me. and then invites people into it, right? So then I would go sit and I would eat with her, and we wouldn't talk, but we would just be together.
Yeah.
And so I completely agree, and I'm a big proponent of like modeling. And there's a lot of talking. It's a lot of content creation on how to do it the right way, and very projecting. And I'm a person that likes to talk with people, not at people as much. And I think that's when you're really delving into and aligning with a more integrated, holistic quality of life, the more that just exudes from you.
Yeah.
And invites people
Absolutely.
into it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Love it. Okay, so I want to take a little bit of a left-hand turn. Are you ready?
I'm in.
Okay, so one of the things that I deeply value about you and the work that you do is that you hold space for what people are going through in a spiritual way. And it's not this is again, this is my assessment. What I've seen and who I've known you based on what we've talked about previously. And I find it very encouraging and very inspiring because I don't know, at least with my experience, I don't know that I've seen enough people that do what you do. And so, would you share a little bit about what you do? And then I want to kind of go into a little bit about the space that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Um, because to me, it seems to be like a little bit of a topic that I want to enter gingerly, but you might just go right there. So,
Yeah.
tell us just a little bit more about what you do and how you hold space for those that are on the spiritual journey.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate the intro into it. So the title of the work I do is Therapeutic Spiritual Direction. Therapeutic Spiritual Direction. I have to learn to slow down when I say it. And so spiritual direction is actually a very ancient practice of accompanying somebody through their spiritual journey. And how I hold space is I integrate the therapeutic. So I have a master's in spiritual formation and soul care, a background in working with people psychosocially, social emotionally throughout time, done many things, as I said, in healthcare, and even before that in education and stuff like that. And so the difference that I bring so spiritual direction is usually the contemplative, not simply, but like the staying with the spiritual conversation. And I do that. And I integrate spirituality, but I'm also integrating the conversation on the self, the person. So my degree was in like psychology and spirituality, kind of like understanding holistically what it is to be a person who is spiritual in the spiritual life. And I work with people that if they do have a faith tradition, they were or are Christian. A lot of them come from more conservative or fundamentalist backgrounds and are either trying to reclaim a bit and holding on to what I'd say some of the gems that they feel connected, like that's their like mother tongue, that's their language of connecting with the divine and the spirituality. And then I work with people kind of like, as I say, like on the spectrum of spirituality. So I would consider myself also like interspiritual people that are really connected to energetic understandings of spirituality or connective consciousness or collective liberation. Because, like I said, spirituality is not religion. Spirituality can be housed inside of religion or inside of a faith system or tradition. But spirituality is this just drawing and connectiveness to the more. Some believe and connect with the divine within that, and some find it just between the space between people or inside. So you'll hear people be like, "Oh my God, that meal was like a spiritual experience." It was because it's almost like this transcendent. It was so amazing. It almost took you like outside of yourself to like imagine like, wow, this is amazing, and connects you with the farmers and the chef. And you're like, that is spiritual, right? It's not religious or maybe a faith tradition that gives you a set of language for it or a system, but it's drawing you towards the more of life in this world, the beyond. And so I work with people that really want to integrate that holistic approach to healing and growth, just understanding their own inner world and their personal narrative, integrating spirituality. So for many people that come from Christianity, a faith tradition, there is some language that feels really alive in them and they really want to keep connecting to that. Some people are really connected to Jesus. Like they love this notion of like the divine being embodied in a person and coming into this world. For me, that speaks volumes. It's amazing that the creator would want to be also created in creation. That's amazing. And so some of that speaks to them. But then there's these other like theologies or ways of looking at things that feel really harsh or damning. There was a lot of not just releasing of agency, but a subduing of agency, not being able to have agency, have desires, to know what you want and who you are. You were given like a fixed way of being. And so I work with a lot of people that are, some would say deconstructing or expanding or shifting in their faith. And I hold space for them to understand like who they really are, how they've been formed, and how they want to continue to be spiritually formed, where they want to go with that. Um, Often our spirituality, especially if you come from, say, Christianity or a faith tradition of some sort, our connection to the divine or to God gets very much fused with caregivers or significant adults in our lives. And so it's sometimes really hard to separate that. So often I'll work with people and I'll be like, oh, explain God to me. Okay, explain your dad to me. Okay, what do we see? And often they're very similar.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's amazingly loving, and often it's very harsh or damning. And so helping people kind of process like, okay, well, what do you believe about God? What do you believe about the divine? And a lot of people are like, oh, well, that God's love. Okay, well, how do you see that in the way you actually experience and see the world? And how do you want to embody that? How do you want to be love in this world? Um, and that can also help as ways of, I do a lot of like parts work, inner child work, um, attachment, understanding our own personal narrative. That's much of what the psychological makeup, family systems, psychodynamic, if you need modality names.
It's not separate. It is integrated.
It is. And so very much. And so for me, that's what I do is I sit with people and I'm really mindful. I'm not a psychotherapist. I don't pathologize, diagnose. I'm not going to write you a care plan. I've done that. That's not what we're doing here. I'm offering you ways and journeying with you. So I'm not going to I'm never going to tell you what to do or how to be, because that's not my job. I decenter myself intentionally. It's your journey. It's your life. I truly believe that you and the divine are at work. And I just get to accompany you on that journey and provide tools and lenses for you to consider. Everything's invitational. So that is how I hold space.
Wow. Powerful.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to have a final question
Mm-hmm.
that I think is going to be really encouraging. Hopefully, that's my intention. What do you offer to someone who might be at the beginning of this process of, I'm not sure about what I believe anymore, but there is that I still love and appreciate. So to that person, what kind of encouragement or thought process would you encourage? What kind of path would you encourage them to go down? Because
Yeah.
it's hard. I know it's hard.
Yeah, it's extremely disorienting. Feels like the bottom falls out for a lot of people. If you've been giving this certain scaffolding of a way of looking at your life and yourself, and all of a sudden parts are starting to shift, it can feel like the bottom is falling out, and you're like, well, I don't know who I am. I don't know what I believe. What's the point of this world? What's happening? It can be a real existential crisis. And I would say to those people, wherever you are on that journey, that this is also a very normal part of spiritual development. So my degree is also in understanding spiritual development and human development. And it's so normal, which doesn't make it any easier. I tell people all the time, like, this isn't going to be helpful, but I want you to know you're exactly where you should be. And, to know that, like, this is very common. You're actually in great company. Historically, from all the way to antiquity, there are these understandings and models of spiritual development and expanding and shifting and looking at and releasing and attending to more. Like that is very normal, right? We know young adults all of a sudden are like, who am I? What is this world? What do I believe? What is my thing? I'm going to try 7 different types of style and then I'll land, right? That's normal in a spiritual life.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing, right? Because you're people, you're humans having a spiritual experience too, right? So I would encourage people like, this is very normal. This is actually a really healthy part of your spiritual development, your spiritual formation, of forming your character and yourself spiritually. And I would say seek support. There's so many people that either sit in a pew or in a group and they think either, I can't believe any of this is all trash. I don't know. Part of me wants to, but I don't even know. And so they release it all and they leave. And sometimes that is necessary, or that is truly where they will land. But for some, it's almost like nihilistic in the sense of like, oh, I can't even imagine and think about any of this anymore. It's too much. And then there's others that sit and repress it and think, well, I guess this is just the way it's supposed to be. I guess no one really believes in this stuff, but I'm supposed to show up, or I'm supposed to believe this, even though it feels so incongruent. And I would say, particularly to Christians, that there are a plethora of faithful views throughout time. There are many ways to look at something. And even in spirituality as a whole, there are many ways to approach connecting to the moreness of life. And yeah, so I would encourage people to reach out. You reach out to me,
Yeah.
reach out to you, finding someone that really can also get that is well trained in holding space, not giving you their journey or giving you a way of being or fixing it, but that is someone that holds that open, curious space with you. Because there are many people that put on these certain hats that they believe that they can help people, but they haven't been well trained in how to hold themselves so that they can hold another. And it takes a lot of learning and a lot of experience to have 5 to 6 different conversations in your head at a time. Because I'm holding this person and I'm being curious in many ways.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
also holding myself. Because if
Mm-hmm.
somebody talks about something that triggers me, I need to know how to attend to it quickly in my head and be able to place it over here and say, I'm going to come back to you. For me, I'm like, okay, God, you hold that for me. Or I'm having a conversation with the spirit and with the person and with the self. And that
Yes.
takes a lot. And I think some people you don't realize it because you're not supposed to know that. I don't sit in therapy with my therapist and think, wow, I wonder what conversation she's having in
What
her
are they
head.
sifting through?
Yeah, I'm just talking. And that's the point. Yeah, I should not be attending to her.
Yes.
But the upfront work is recognizing, can this person attend to me well?
In the middle of what you were saying, thank you for that. First of all, thank you,
You're
thank you,
welcome.
thank you.
You're
And in the
welcome.
middle of what you were saying, I was thinking about the things that I could add, when there was a pause. Because again, I'm doing the same thing that you're just talking about right now. As we're talking, how do I keep this conversation going, but also support what you're saying and all of that? But one of the things I was going to offer when you were saying it's normal, and I'm thinking, okay, and next step is get support. And and then you offered that as well. Um, and I just want to piggyback on that a little bit because when we get support with safe people, such as you, such as me, such as friendships or relationships in our lives, that's where we feel the normal, where people can hold that space and go, oh yeah, I experienced this too, or I know such and such has experienced that. And if we one of the things that I like to encourage is like identify who safe people are for you. And they're going to be the people that absolutely can hold what you're saying and still love you and not make you feel like you're going to lose something or that you are going to be punished. And so I'm so grateful that you brought that up. And a lot of the times too, because when we're in a conservative type arena, those spaces aren't naturally held because there's a certain way that we're supposed to be doing stuff, and there's a certain way we're not supposed to be doing stuff.
Yeah,
So I'm
agreed.
again so grateful that you offered all that and broke that down and created just a different, potentially a different space for someone to think about this and know
Yeah.
that yes, what we're experiencing is normal. The timing might not be appropriate or not convenient. It's always appropriate, but I'm always like, I don't have time for this. It's
Yeah.
happening
Well,
now.
change never feels like a fantastic invitation all the time.
Never.
It's not like, oh my gosh, I love completely shifting my entire worldview. What a great idea today. Like, no, I need to go to the grocery store. I need to show up to work. I need to figure out how I engage with this community, and do I engage with this community anymore? Yeah, and it's really hard. I work with people on the whole spectrum of that kind of conversation we had, from people that have moved through it and have found ways of being and engaging, to people that are just starting, going, how do I do this? And there's like 10 different things coming in, and you're like, everything feels too much. Mm-hmm. And I would also encourage people to take a deep breath and slow down, right? It feels like, oh my God, I have to figure it all out. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What do I believe this? What do I believe this? Who do I get? Slow it down and pick one thing. Have a curious conversation with it. Invite somebody in, right, to journey with you with that. You know, if you're trying to start with figuring out who your safe people are, well, what makes you feel safe? Back it up even more.
Yeah, yeah.
It's hard to find safe people if you don't actually know what safety feels like in yourself, or what you're seeking. And it might be, well, I'm told this. Write that down. What were you told? What resonates? And then listen to yourself and sit with that. Like, do I feel safe when somebody is giving me some of these set ways of looking at something? Does that give me comfort and solace? Does it give me the actual comfort and solace I need? Or does it relieve me of having to make any decisions? Right? There's many questions to ask within a question.
Yes.
Which is much of what we do when we offer to people.
Exactly. Well, once again, thank you so much for this conversation. I look forward to either getting feedback from those who have watched this, or hearing on the other side of discussion where this goes, because I know there's a continuation to be had here.
There really is. And thank you for having me, and for those listening and watching. I pray that you have peace along your journey.
Yes. And we'll put in the show notes, we'll put all the ways to find you and the work that you're doing. And I look forward to seeing you again soon.
Lovely. Thank you. Bye.
Next week, I share a conversation with Martha Morales. And although she doesn't claim it, she reveals a superpower of connecting.
I get to know, amazing people have amazing lives. Mm-hmm. And I am always like so impressed, so surprised, so in awe of some of these wonderful people's lives. And so if you just take the quality of time and just get to know them, then you're like, wow, what an amazing life. What an amazing experience. What an amazing, whatever they did, that I got to listen and learn.
I'm Chelsea. I help women discover and create our own version of quality of life, so that we can actually feel good and enjoy the life we're living. See you next week.